and down through the state of California here as we go through El Nino this fall and winter.
All right, everybody,
so this was issued today, and still dealing with that 90% chance that El Nino will continue through the northern hemisphere here.
Thanks
hence
to
the El Nino advisory.
in a few minutes.
And we are right on the cusp there,
I'll wait
moving
for
into moderate El Nino conditions. The last reported temperature there was about 1 degree Celsius, which is on the lower end, just on the cusp of the moderate El Nino. The Southern Oscillation Index is now fluctuating a bit here. We're getting some variability going on here, but I'll show you what that is here in a moment. Stay with me.
And an event that it looks like we got it. Okay, make sure to mute this so we don't hear the reverb
here.
Things. Okay, now we can turn up the volume a bit. Looks like the audio is working. And are you guys still getting the echo right now? I got 2 people saying echo. Is it still going on? That echo still happening? Is the echo still going now? Okay, I'm getting the all good signal here. Okay. Sorry about that. I thought I nipped that in the bud. Apparently I didn't hit the volume down quick enough. Posted that on Twitter. Okay, we already got quite a bit of people already in here. It looks like already 72 people. That was quick. Very nice. Yeah, you guys are probably hearing all the chatter here on the social media. Seems like things are starting to pick up quite rapidly here about that tropical system down here. If you look on the mid-level, you can see Washington here is California, there's Baja, there's Mexico. And we've got the 2 systems going on right now, but we've got this one down here, which if it does develop will become Tropical Storm Hillary or Hurricane Hillary here. And this will move up near Baja and potentially towards Southern California, Arizona, Nevada here. And I'll show you why. And we'll look at some of the new model runs here in a moment as well. Sound is good now. All right. Yeah, we're going to get cooler weather in the Pacific Northwest. We're going through a bit of a heat wave here. So for anybody in California, we are dealing with some heat up here in the Pacific Northwest. But you can see this trough kind of swinging by here in the Pacific Northwest. And we're going to be kicking up some winds over the next few days. We've already got fires breaking out across some of the Cascades. There's fires ongoing across British Columbia as well. So there's going to be some pretty high-level fire danger here across Pacific Northwest. So hopefully that isn't going to be a problem, but it's going to be tough. Actually, let me look and see here. I think I have it. Yeah, this is what's going on this afternoon. You can see some thunderstorms down across Oregon here, but look at the fires across the North Washington Cascades and some of BC. And I don't know. I should have checked here. Is that still the Eagle Bluff fire out there? It looks like it's a little bit further north than the border now. It might have been inching northward, but yeah, pretty good smoke ongoing right now. And we're really going to continue this fire danger on. But look at that thunderstorm activity across Oregon as well. Some of these lightning strikes should be causing some fire here as well. Here in Northern California, we had a massive thunderstorm and now a lot of fires. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy out there. You can see this is looking at Oregon, California here, and you can see all the little white dots. Look at all these lightning strikes, coastal range of northern Oregon, the Sierra Nevada, all the way down through Southern California and some of the higher terrain, the foothills here across the southern Sierra Nevada here as well. Just a lot of lightning out there. And I know that we've been doing pretty good here for moisture values across a lot of the Sierra Nevada here, but there is still the lower elevations that have that potential for catching on fire here. And because we've been drying out here for the last couple of months, even though it's a below average season, probably for the Sierra Nevada, this could kick up some activity. And look across some of the valleys of Utah here, man. If you're out there hiking in some of the canyons, I hope you know what you're doing. That looks like a lot of precipitation there on some of these storms. A lot of lightning down there with the monsoon moisture in Arizona as well, kind of approaching extreme southeast California. But yeah, a lot of lightning, some of that moving up into Oregon here too as well. That's why they had that warning out there for some isolated dry lightning for the next couple days. I think today and tomorrow they might extend that again. We'll see. I'm checking out some of the chat here. The Willamette Valley is horrible. We are 6 miles from the Wiley Creek fire. Yeah, it is not fun if you're nearby one of these fires. A lot of times people are out there like, hey, it's not too bad. You know, the fire activity isn't too bad. But if you happen to be downwind of one of these big plumes, it just gets wicked really quickly. I mean, there's a lot of smoke out there across portions of Oregon. And especially if you're off in the Cascades, that is nasty stuff. And there's a thunderstorm moving over the top. Looks like that bedrock fire. And some of the other fires look like Wiley Creek. I've not looked up that one yet, but I'll believe you. Southwest BC Puget Sound. It doesn't look like it right now. I didn't see anything in the short term here, but we'll watch that trough coming in. We have the trough coming in this weekend. There's always that potential for some lightning, but you know how that is. It's tough to get precipitation west of the Cascades, even into Southwest BC during the summertime. And these will probably stay over the Cascades. It shouldn't be drifting too far out of the Willamette Valley. You can't completely rule it out, though. You can kind of see the track of this thing moving east to west. Is that working up to Washington? Not yet. I didn't see much. Anyway, I'm speaking of one I saw this morning's European run. It didn't show much lightning getting up into Washington, but there's going to be some increase across British Columbia and whatnot too coming up here. But over the next couple of days, especially like the Blue Mountains here, there's going to be some thunderstorm activity there as well. Cooling down in New Mexico. Cascadia, Oregon is where that fire is. Okay. Yeah, I hope we don't continue this fire activity. Man, it's just no fun being under smoke. We've been dealing with that a lot the last 5-10 years here. Watch duty makes it look like Northern California has exploded. So let's see. Yeah, I can imagine there's probably some fires kicking off across California. And if you guys are just joining, I showed this. A lot of lightning going on across some of California, a bit across Nevada, but mostly across Utah and Arizona here. But I think I know what everybody... Travis Air Force Base. Let me catch up here. You can send them to me on Twitter. Matt Mittens mentioned he has a bunch of fires of the photos of the fire here in Western Mojave. You send them to me on Twitter. Direct message me. I'm Seattle Weather Guy on Twitter. Smoky in Redmond right now. Kyle Gorman, hello. Yeah, there's definitely more potential for lightning-caused fires. And yeah, so I think I know why a lot of people are joining in tonight, because we have some interesting weather in the extended forecast for California. And the funny thing about this is that some of the models are showing this moisture moving all the way up across California, even up into Oregon here as well. And couple of the extreme models have something moving into Washington, from this tropical system. Very unusual path. Not unprecedented though. It can happen. You can bring these tropical storms up across the region. And the big risk for these storms is the big amounts of moisture that it brings. Just you can get some torrential rains and big time flooding here. And you guys know how it goes out there across some of the desert areas. And heck, even across some of the metropolitan areas, you can wash out roads, because it's extremely unusual to get that kind of rainfall. Just mostly desert out here across a lot of the Southwest. But that's the biggest threat. You bring this huge moisture surge across the region, and some places just get hammered. And if you watch my weather videos, you see me talking about the San Diego This Day in Weather History, and virtually all of them, not all of them, but a good portion of the past weather events that happen during the summertime with extratropical system moisture that moves up over the region. It doesn't happen every year, but it happens every few years. And some years are worse than others. I mean, could a Cat 1 hit Southern Cal, a strong El Nino? I know in past history, there have been hurricanes that have gotten close up towards the border here and stuff, but they are generally weak. There's just not that warm water to support it. And I'll go ahead and show you guys a little bit of this. You can kind of see, this is pretty typical stuff here. It is a little bit anomalously warm here off the West Coast, but generally this water cannot sustain a hurricane. So once these systems move off this, it starts to weaken rapidly. It's almost like a dust devil coming off a dusty field and over grass. The circulation is still there and it can still bring impacts, but for the most part, you can't sustain the tropical system here. But you can see the water is very warm across the Gulf of California. So if a hurricane was fairly strong moving up the coastline and it kind of tracked over Baja and over the Gulf of California into Southwest USA, you could probably bring a tropical storm or a weak hurricane under perfect conditions up into the Southwest here. But again, the most dangerous thing of that is going to be, dangerous lightning and just the huge amounts of moisture it can bring. Yeah, Daniel Swain. Yeah, he's good too. I watch his forecast as well. We had a little bit of interaction on Twitter there. Yeah, he's a good guy to watch also. Yeah, there are some winds showing up, and especially with these convective systems here, if it just ends up the system dies even till you're going to bring up some moisture, and you're going to have some strong winds that can be locally, you know, intertwined with that convective activity here across a lot of the Southwest. So there are multiple threats with this system. And this is looking at sea surface temperature anomaly. So you can see here, it's going to be developing down here. The water is anomalously warm. You can see El Nino, the clear tongue across the equatorial Pacific. And really, the water's been warming up quite a bit here off the coast of California. You can see here's Hawaii and extreme southern California there. A little bit below average across some of the coast areas. But yeah, it's warming up here. You can see that water seems to be kind of moving out across the Pacific here. So if it takes the right track, you can get a pretty strong system up towards the Southern California area. Yeah, the problem is that we've got this cold water current. The current is coming from the north here, and you can kind of see it curve out towards the Hawaiian Islands here. This is how the current moves. So you're really not going to get a hurricane just come up here and be looping around and hitting San Francisco. It's going to just lose its energy source. It needs really warm water. Basically, you need at least that yellow gradient here. You need to be underneath, or you need to be over the top of that if you're a hurricane. Once you start moving off that, it's hard to maintain it, though it can maintain it for short periods of time, maybe a day or so. How much monsoon moisture? I haven't looked at too much detail of that yet. I don't see a lot getting into Washington, but definitely more for Oregon, and it could creep into southern portions of Washington here as well. I think the double audio at the beginning, I have a YouTube chat page open here, and I think I kind of left that open, so sorry about that. The Hunga Tonga volcano, from what I've heard, it's causing some warming there because of all the H2O, the water vapor it injected into the stratosphere there. So it's causing a little bit of warming here, but it's really not that big of a deal apparently. But it is causing a little bit of warming kind of globally. Yeah, places like Vegas, you could get some, some very heavy rain. And as you guys know, if anybody lives across Nevada for a while or the deserts of California, when it rains just a little bit, sometimes you can cause flooding problems. When it starts raining over an inch or two in 24-hour period, you really things start to get wild really quickly. Could a subtropical storm ever form a few hundred miles off the California coast? Not really. I mean, you can just see the water off the California coastline is really not that much warmer across the water of the Gulf of Alaska, for example. You can see some warm water has nosed its way in towards the west coast. But no, you're not going to get storm development here off the coast of California for the most part. It'd be upper level lows. Yeah, I will talk about the Fraser River Valley a lot more when the wintertime comes too. And I talk about it sometimes when we get the offshore winds as well. I kind of show those wind maps where you see the offshore winds flowing across British Columbia out towards western Washington and whatnot. But anyway, let's take a look here. I want to show you guys what's going on. So this is looking at the 18Z European. This is the hot off the presses European run there. And this is the one this morning. I haven't talked about either one of these in my video. But if we look here, you can see the couple of tropical systems here, one passing south of Hawaii, and this one kind of going to bring some moisture towards the Hawaiian Islands. But you can see pretty good model agreement between the European and itself. We'll scroll through here. It's passing by Cabo. It's moving up the coastline here. And as you can see, it's slowed down maybe a hair, but it's still kind of got its sights set on Southern California here, if you believe the European model. This is as far out as the 18Z European model goes. So 144 hours is the control run. High resolution actually now because the recent upgrades to the European model. But yeah, you can see that this thing has got some serious potential to get into the southwest portion of the USA. And this brings some potentially high impacts with it. This is Los Angeles too. This is the 18Z precipitable water. And look at the slug of moisture showing up in all the runs. The control run's showing it. Virtually every ensemble member has some kind of increase here in the precipitable water. Very few, maybe ensemble member number 50 there. It's the confidence is increasing rapidly in this situation here, and this could be kind of a fairly rare system here. And if you even look here, one of the ensemble members for the European even has a 49 mile per hour wind gust there at Los Angeles International Airport. But you can see, for the most part, it's not going to be like a truly tropical hurricane where you have to worry about 100+ mile per hour winds. raking the city. It's just more of a big rain event, convection, flooding, but locally there can be some wind effects, and you can't rule it out for certain. I mean, you could get some gusts up over 40 miles per hour, but we'll see how that goes. And this is looking at San Diego here. This is 24-hour precipitation. So look at the control run. Actually had over an inch of rainfall in a 24-hour period as this moves up over the area. Some of the ensembles are higher. Some of them have nothing. So we'll be watching this closely, but this is definitely uptrending here. When we looked at this first a couple days ago, San Diego had very few ensemble members showing much of anything. So this is definitely on the uptrend here. Check out Palm Springs. Look at the control run, over 2 inches in a 24-hour period. And some of these ensemble members are downright ridiculous, showing 3-4 inches of precipitation here. So this can have really huge impacts there as you start to go inland a bit there as well. This is Santa Barbara. Check it out. The control run, a ridiculous 3.5 inches, 3.7 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. I don't have to tell you, if you live out there, what that would do for flooding the area here, but you can see the big disagreement between the ensemble runs. So it's still something we're trying to gain more confidence on, but definitely this is uptrending as far as impacts on Southern California. This is looking at the 12Z one, so we didn't go over this morning. Usually when I do my morning briefings, I have the 06Z run, and the 12Z European hasn't run yet. But here we are into Sunday morning, and look at the precipitation. So this is Saturday afternoon. Let's back up a little. Saturday afternoon here, you can see the precipitation starting to roll in very early Sunday morning across some of the desert areas, up across near Las Vegas, and then the big surge. Look at it come across Southern California. Look at that surge. Santa Barbara, the mountains out there, all the way up California, all the way into Oregon. Look at that huge tropical surge of moisture. Very impressive model agreement coming around here too. So this is starting to gain confidence, and it's something you need to be planning for if you're out there. You know, if you've got one lane in and out to your community, for example, and you're getting big precipitation amounts, you can easily get cut off for, a couple days. So it's something to definitely plan for here. And every time we have big flooding across California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, people lose their lives. Unfortunately, it's just kind of a fact of life here, but you can help reduce that risk by being prepared. This is looking at the 12Z. I think this is the same thing here. What did I show back here? I showed the 12Z. I duplicated the run there. But now let's take a look. Well, here, I'll pause and I'll look at a few chats here for a minute. Yeah, it would be interesting if you could get a Category 1 hurricane to actually make landfall somewhere in Southern California. That would be quite the media hype. A lot of questions coming in here, trying to go through a few of them here. I mean, El Nino can mean more rain, but it depends on the year. Right now, some of the long-range models are showing drier than normal across Pacific Northwest, but it's something that you just got to kind of watch as it comes. Yes, there will definitely be a chance of flash flooding in California. And as we go through the next few days in the briefing videos that I do, you'll probably see the excessive rainfall outlook really start to latch onto it. I think they started to show it a little bit in the day 5. But yeah, definitely there's going to be big swaths of excessive rainfall possibility here. I'm even trying to I'm thinking about maybe even coming down there and like storm chasing this whole setup here. But again, it can be quite dangerous here. If you start going out and you try to put yourself in the bullseyes of some of these precipitation values and you're off in the desert areas, I mean, when entire roads wash out, you can make yourself a victim really quickly. So I really have to watch that. Well, so I'm not sure how to say that, but SynCrowd there says, could the storm strengthen and get more intense? Yeah, it's definitely going to strengthen. So right now, it's not even technically a tropical. It's going to be named a tropical system here in the next day or so, but it is definitely going to get looks like it's fairly strong system here. It might be a Category 1 or 2, possibly even a Category 3 hurricane as it passes up towards Baja here, and then it's going to start to weaken, as it moves up towards Southern California. It starts getting over the colder water. It loses its energy source a bit there. So, but it's definitely going to intensify. I was a big snowboarder here, and I But I don't think that it's going to be a good snow season in the Pacific Northwest. El Nino years usually are not. There can be exceptions to that, though, so you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But I am hoping that we get snow in the mountains. I always love to see it. Tropical Storm Nora in 1997. Y'all have to look that one up and the details of that a little bit more. What kind of convective activity? Well, you can get the big mesoscale convective systems here. So they can, some of the thunderstorm activity will drop a couple of rains, but it'll be kind of localized. You can get pretty widespread precipitation amounts here. And as I showed you here, I mean, you don't have to be a meteorologist to kind of look at this and see the threat across a lot of the state. I mean, look at some of the moisture values come up across Southern California. It's just kind of ridiculous there, including some of, Santa Barbara there up the coastline, even into the valley areas here. It's kind of a wild run of things here in the weather models. It's going to be interesting to see if they continue to show this over the next couple of days, because if it does, the hype is going to get even more intense in the media, because this is kind of a big deal. Oh, and I remember why I brought this one up too, because if you take a look here, check it. Look at this moisture. It reaches all the way into Oregon here by the time we go on to next week. Stop short of Washington, but look at that. It kind of surges all the way up and through Oregon and up into Idaho too. Yeah, I took a look at Hurricane K there, and it kind of moved up the coast of Baja similarly, and then it kind of weakened and spun just south of Southern California there. But from what I've been reading, it brought some nice moisture into the region also. Big Bear, California. Yeah, you're going to be under the gun there. You have the potential to be getting some pretty heavy rain out of this. Yeah, it looks like the Atlantic is kind of disorganized right now, but anything that gets into the Gulf of Mexico, not Gulf of Alaska, Gulf of Mexico would be, it's always kind of dangerous when a storm system moves into there. Tropical storms can rapidly develop over that kind of warm water. Last year, the storm track was squarely focused on California. That is definitely another potential for California here. You guys, the El Niños, it's still a little bit unpredictable here, but it definitely has been shown to have the potential to bring very wet winters to California here, especially Southern California. But we'll see how that goes. And the biggest impacts are usually felt between January and March as well. Usually not so much between October and December, maybe a little bit. But when the fire hose starts pointing at California because of El Nino, it tends to be later on in through the season, later on into the winter, on into the very early spring. How common are 2 wet winters in a row in California? That's a good question. That's something I'll have to research and look up. Did I do a Las Vegas ensemble? Let's see. So there's Palm Springs or Santa Barbara. Here, let's check it out. Punch in Las Vegas here, and you can see pretty good model agreement there with some kind of precip coming in here. And sometimes people laugh at some of the amounts, but if you get a half an inch of rain in a 24-hour period in Las Vegas, it can cause some problems, especially if that comes in an hour or so. And you can see some of these ensembles have bigger amounts. So that's for Las Vegas right there. You can do Phoenix as well. You can see some variability going on here, but this is going to become more clear. As you guys can see, this starts to arrive very late Saturday night and on into Sunday. So we have another day or two to really consolidate this forecast. Yes, it has the potential to impact the Sierra Nevada for sure. And I'll run over this one more time here. You can kind of see that moisture move up over the region. I mean, this run had it a little bit further to the west, but this could easily change and include the Sierra Nevada here. And I mean, look at this. This is out by Death Valley, and Death Valley is not immune to getting big rainfall events out of these kind of scenarios as well. But let's scroll through a few more things here. This is the GFS. I want to show you why this is going on. This is the 18Z, the most recent GFS run here. So you can see, I want to say Fernand. I'm just going to look it up here. We're going to go. I keep wanting to think of that. Go to Eastern Pacific. Fernanda. That's Fernanda out there right now. So let's go back to that GFS map. There's Fernanda out there right now. No threat to California or anything like that. As we scroll through here, you guys might have heard some chatter about that ridge building over the central portion of the USA and bringing a big heat wave. That's connected to the track of this hurricane here with the huge ridge here. That's weakness. You get the southerly flow on the west side of that ridge, and this is going to bring that tropical moisture up into the southwest, steering this tropical storm or hurricane up the Baja Peninsula there, and then trying to get into Southern California. And the hurricane and the wind are usually, again, that's not the biggest threat, but the huge amounts of moisture that this thing could unleash across California is what's really the biggest threat. And look at this ridge just across Kansas and Missouri and Nebraska, just dominating. But that is linked with this hurricane's track here. Again, on the west side of that, you got the clockwise rotation with the high pressure, allowing this tropical moisture to move up over Southern California. And that's the most recent GFS 18Z right there. The 0Z will start running here in about a half an hour, but that'll be too late for us today. And here we go with the GFS ensembles. So you can see this is all 30 ensembles, and look at pretty good agreement on the track of the storm. And the GFS thinks it's going to be a pretty strong storm, maybe category 2 hurricane here as it starts to move up the coastline, maybe even a category 3. And the ensemble mean is this black box dotted line here. And you can see all the ensembles kind of showing where they think the storm is going to go, but pretty good track agreement up into California. This is the European, something similar. This has 50 ensemble members, and the ensemble mean is in the black dashed line here as well. The deterministic is the purple, and the control is the blue here, which are virtually the same now because they should be the same resolution, actually. So yeah, this is the 12Z run here, and I don't think... No, they don't do an 18Z run on this or anything. But yeah, interesting stuff there. Let me catch up on some of the chat here. Yeah, that's another thing here too. So let's bring up this. I found this. Where did I get it earlier? Eastern Pacific. There was actually another one here, and I don't remember where I saw it, but there's a chance for another system to follow up towards Baja again in the extended, but we're not even going to worry about that right now. We have plenty to worry about with the potential for this to become a Tropical Storm Hillary. Right now it's called Invest 90E or 90 Echo. So the moisture would be moving in about Saturday night and into Sunday. So the effects could be felt as early as Sunday morning across Southern California. Definitely tune in for tomorrow because we'll have tonight's European model run in and actually this afternoon's and tonight. So I'll have 2 more European model runs to look at by the time I do my briefing tomorrow. Yeah, you guys are definitely going to cool down there across the Central California Valley. And strangely enough, yes, there is a chance for weak tornadoes with this system. Anytime you get a lot of moisture up across Southern California, Arizona, into Nevada, you can spawn some of those weak tornadoes sometimes. Definitely not going to be the primary threat, but can cause some damage, nuisance damage usually. Yeah, the GFS kind of jumped on this thing early and it's stuck with it, and it looks like it's going to win this round here. Kind of interesting stuff. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to bring up the European and compare it to the GFS. So you got the European on the left, the GFS on the right here. I mean, the GFS just has a very strong storm. That's a powerful, that thing packs a punch there as it hits Baja. And you can clearly see that. I mean, the GFS wants to bring a tropical storm into San Diego, it looks like. I don't know about that, but, you know, we'll watch this definitely over the next few days. It'll be interesting to see if the GFS is on to something else here with just this powerful tropical system moving up Baja. Yeah, that'd be something if every 10 years, like on clockwork, you got a tropical storm in here. Yeah, when I saw the European turning the system off to the west, you kind of say, yeah, that looks probable, and that's usually what happens. But like I said, when I did the briefing a couple of days ago, I was like, it kind of gives you cause for concern just because it's not unprecedented for these storms to move up like that. And right now, both of them are saying it's coming. Sea surface temperatures, we went over that a little bit here. You can see that warm water really cuts off here. You've got this current that comes down the west coast of North America here, and it comes out of the north and the northwest, and it kind of follows that general high pressure trade wind flow here across the Pacific Ocean. And yeah, so you've got this sharp cutoff, but you can get really strong tropical systems and hurricanes, even category 4s and 5s down here off the coast of Mexico. The problem is when they get off of the warm water, they rapidly deteriorate, but they can still hold together for a day, maybe even a little bit longer, and try to approach Southern California. It's not a common track to take here. So it's kind of a rare phenomenon in itself for the storm to take that track. And then you got to deal with the very cool water as you move northward. If you're a tropical storm, you want to be over top of the water, yellow or south, really. And that's why some of these systems really weaken when they approach from the east towards Hawaii. They pass over this tongue of cooler water here. There's also some other reasons. The air tends to be drier here, and sometimes they start running into wind shear. But yeah, they start to move out over this cooler water, and they do weaken, but they can bring increased moisture to Hawaii. Can a tropical storm bring storm surge? Yeah, I actually brought up a map. Where did that go? Here we go. So yeah, maximum individual wave height. This is Saturday morning, and you can see the wave heights moving up from Baja here. Check this out. Moving up towards Southern California. There it is. Because if that's a hurricane down here, obviously it's been kicking up some waves. So you're probably going to be increasing your swell here across some of Southern California. I'm not a wave expert here, but I do know how to read this map, and this is European's usually pretty good. But you look at significant wave heights here as well, and you can see the increase there as we go on in through the early portion of next week. So yeah, definitely could get some swell here. I don't know how rideable it would be. Would it be clean chop, or would it be, a little bit? Yeah, it might be a bit choppy there. Yeah, who knows? We'll have to see how this goes. Yeah, so let's see. Maybe catch up on the chat here for a bit. Got about another 24 minutes. Yeah, 90 degrees and downpour is not uncommon, is it, in the monsoon? Yeah, Seattle, you've got, it's still 90 degrees outside, isn't it? It's 89 at my house right now. I'm just off to the west of SeaTac. But yeah, you got tomorrow and Thursday, still very warm days for Seattle coming up here. I don't think hurricanes will be the norm for California here. You'd have to warm up the Pacific Ocean quite a bit for them to get into California. And plus, it's just not a common track to take. And I'll show you why on that here in a moment as well. Let me look at that. So you see this ridge. I talked about this a few minutes ago here. Normally you have a ridge over the Pacific Ocean that likes to stir hurricanes. In fact, let's do this. Let's go to oceanic, and we'll go to Pacific Ocean here. Or I could just go to north, east. So usually there's a high pressure system kind of out here across Pacific, semi-permanent feature. And you see how it's steering this tropical system to the south of it? You've got a ridge out here. It generally steers these systems out here, and the Pacific High sits there, and it doesn't really allow storms to approach in the first place. Then you've got this cold water current, so it makes it very difficult to get a tropical system up there. But every few years, like what's happening now, you can see the ridge over the center portion of the country there, and it's allowing this hurricane to take its path towards Southern California. And you see the big ridge over the center portion of the country right there? That's linked with the path of this hurricane. Let me do this. Where's the United States? There it is. And you can see the ridge right there, just this massive ridge. That is really going to crank up the heat here across the central portion of the USA. But you can see how they're linked. This clockwise rotation here, southerly flow, allowing that tropical moisture to move up the tropical storm. It's going to be dealing with the cold water, but it's definitely got an open door to make an appearance into Southern California. The name of if it develops into a hurricane or tropical storm, it will be Tropical Storm Hillary. Yeah, the good thing about tornadoes usually in California, they're usually on the weaker side of things. You're not talking about EF4s or EF5s rolling around the countryside out there or anything. But if you're unlucky enough for one to hit your house, an EF1 can be bad enough. Well, Sacramento has a chance to get some moisture from this system as well. Yeah, it looks like the thunderstorm activity is kind of winding down across the Sierra Nevada. Actually, let me bring that up. I shouldn't say that just yet because it looks like the southern Sierra Nevada was still going right now. Should be coming to an end here, but you can see all the lightning strikes across California and Oregon today. Kind of interesting there. A lot across Utah. Some even crept into southern Nevada. They're not too far from Vegas. Southern California, higher terrain, getting lightning strikes. Yeah, I mean, during El Nino years, you don't tend to get a lot of activity across the Atlantic Ocean. And I've been reading some people tweeting about it, some respected meteorologists, and things look disorganized right now. But if you can get a hurricane anywhere near Florida, the Gulf of Mexico, you guys know, if you've been watching weather for a while, how fast those things can really crank up, and they can intensify quite rapidly. But yeah, Palm Springs is kind of interesting. The precipitation signal showing up there. I mean, the mean is close to an inch in a 24-hour period there. Kind of crazy stuff there. Let me update that. And this is the 18Z one, so this has been loaded now as well. And you can see again, the mean is up towards an inch. And right at the end of the run here, this is as far as the 18Z run goes out. It ends right there. About Monday, 18Z, which is about 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And some of those ensemble members are pretty nasty with the amount of precipitation that it shows in here. But you can see by the time you get towards Saturday afternoon, evening, overnight, that's the first sign of that tropical moisture moving into the region. It's hard. I mean, as far as looking off into the future for this winter, you definitely have that potential to be above average for California. And, so one thing about some of the atmospheric rivers last year is they were strong at times, but they were a little bit suppressed because the ocean was a little bit cooler than normal out there. And when you get an El Nino winter, and you have a lot of warm water around, that's just additional fuel. Even to an atmospheric river, you can add small values of CAPE to those atmospheric rivers, and you can get small convective processes within those atmospheric rivers that can really increase the rainfall amounts. I mean, when you're slamming a huge river of moisture in the atmosphere into the Southern California mountains or the Sierra Nevada or Northern California or Washington or Oregon, if you've got warmer water offshore, it does help. It does increase the rainfall a little bit there, and sometimes, maybe even more than a little bit. Yeah, California has a chance to be wet this year for sure. Some of the long-range models are showing a little bit more than average here across the state here, and it's showing more storm activity out over the Pacific Ocean there as well. But you got to take it with a grain of salt at this range. I mean, it's something that we can't get too caught up in just yet. But El Nino years can bring some pretty crazy precipitation amounts to the state of California. But it's not always a guarantee. As you guys know, 2015, 2016 El Nino, it brought that storm track a little bit further north towards the Pacific Northwest, and it kind of left California. People were like, hey, it was an El Nino. We were supposed to get a lot of rainfall. And the thing is, the fire hose was there. It was just pointed a bit north. So you got to remember that. And then everybody's like, man, you guys don't know what you're talking about and stuff like that. So, but it's kind of just... it's something that just happens. You can only look out so far and really give super meaningful information. Typhoon Frida. Yeah, Typhoon Frida was remnants of a typhoon, and it kind of came across Pacific Ocean at a low latitude, and it mixed with an upper level trough here off the coast of in California, Washington, Oregon. We had a pretty unseasonable trough out here with some tropical moisture, and it really bombed out as it came up the coastline. Known as the Columbus Day Storm, probably the greatest mid-latitude cyclone to ever strike the lower 48 states. Typhoon Frida was associated with that too. And the funny thing is you can track that moisture back like something 10 days all the way across into the Western Pacific Ocean and monitor its track across with some of the data we have now. Pretty impressive stuff. Yeah, and California, La Nina was including California as far as I was concerned. That's kind of seemed like what was happening. You kind of get that dip in the jet stream into the Pacific Northwest a lot of the times, but this one was really progressive and got down far south, and it just kept bringing storm after storm into California, and those troughs were interacting and bringing some subtropical moisture into the region. But during the El Nino year, that water can be even warmer, and those atmospheric rivers can even be a little bit more nasty even. Yeah, there's going to be a high impact event with this moisture surge if it comes. Just not like anything else in weather. Some people are going to be like, it wasn't as bad as they forecast, and other people are going to be like, you have mud in your house because of extreme flooding, or your community's cut off because roadways got washed out. So it's always hit and miss, but there's definitely potential for a high-end situation here coming up. I don't like the overly hype things, but people need to be prepared. It's better to be prepared and to say, it didn't really happen as much as we thought, versus, hey, we got no warning. And it's something we can work on with example on Maui there. We had a great setup there, and we have poor observations on some of the state of Maui. I think we need to do a better job setting up weather stations out there, and we need to we need to alert people better. We can do meteorology better where it saves lives, because a lot of people were caught off guard with that whole situation out there. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can't just necessarily just call it super cold water either. I mean, even the green here, the light green, you're still talking about 25 centigrade water, which is still 77. But at 26, you can continue hurricanes pretty well. And man, I don't know what would happen. What if this thing moves up? Aussie G, thanks for the support. Thank you very much. If that hurricane kind of hugs off Baja and hangs up over the Gulf of California, I mean, can the Gulf of California maintain it a little bit longer and a little bit stronger system into the Southwest? I suppose that's in the realm of possibility. But comparatively, you can see the very warm water in the Gulf of California and off the coast of Mexico. And it's just much cooler, relatively speaking, here. And then you can see the Gulf of Mexico there as well, which is also usually very warm. I mean, I wouldn't be buying water and toilet paper and stuff like that. I would just make sure, because a lot of people live in communities that can be cut off by washed out roads, or you can be living in areas that are flood prone, and they're flood prone. You need to be prepared for that, and just be prepared to help people out as well. Yeah, what a nasty situation unfolded out there. Looks like they traced that back to some energy lines back up off to the northeast of the Lahaina there that kind of caused those fires. No, I wouldn't expect. It's not going to be something that you should be worried about the ocean warming up enough to regularly start bringing hurricanes into California, because the current on the Pacific Ocean comes out of the northwest and the north here. So you're always going to have relatively cooler water here that's not really going to be supportive of hurricane development. And as you guys know, there's a Pacific high pressure system out there. I talked a little bit about that likes to steer these systems as they develop off the Mexico coastline here, and they kind of track this way. And sometimes they move over cooler water and they die, and they bring some increased moisture to Hawaii for a bit, or they pass harmlessly south of the islands, or in some cases not so harmlessly, as Dora was kind of a nice synoptic environment that had a very strong high pressure ridge to its north and troughing to its south, and the very strong gradients there. So you can bring some pretty good winds here just with the tropical system passing to the south of the islands. Should I make out my will? You should always have a will if you're beyond a certain age, right? I mean, yeah, Maui was technically in some drought conditions. Here, I'll try to bring this up here. Let's look at current. So if I bring up Maui here, you can kind of see that it was under moderate drought, where Lahaina is, West Maui is right there. And you can see there was some severe drought for southern Maui there, kind of big beach area down there. And you can see abnormally dry across some of the other islands there. So The drought monitor says that Maui was in moderate drought there. And I know it was very dry, and the compression wind and the downsloping wind would have made things much drier. The humidity was just extremely low. But even if things were normal conditions, that windstorm and that compression wind would have probably started the fire also. It just didn't help. I'm wondering when they're going to update this, because I know they did at 5 p.m., but they did not update it then. But the formation and the chance of formation is 90%. It's almost certainly going to develop into a tropical storm here. And you can kind of see this would be where Hillary is lurking, the breeding ground, very warm water out there. Yeah, I talked about the Maui situation a little bit there. I mean, you can't just say that it was because of Hurricane Dora or anything like that. I had a few little arguments online about that. But what happened basically was a very strong high pressure over the Pacific Ocean there, and kind of the troughing, and the system was just a product of that. Let's just say the hurricane moved by to the south and was part of just a synoptically powerful pressure gradient across the Pacific Ocean. So it wasn't like the hurricane hit Maui directly and it just was a dry hurricane and there was something nefarious to it, and it was some kind of something created by the government or something like that. Had the hurricane hit Maui, it would have brought rainfall and all that good stuff and moisture. But it was far enough to the south there where the dry trade flow here, and there's kind of an inversion associated with that trade flow, the very strong pressure gradient, it hit the islands there, and you get the downsloping effect off those mountains. It just dries, and some of those gusts were probably up over 70 miles per hour. And yeah, they really didn't stand a chance out there. And there's not many ways in and out of Lahaina there. You know, there's like one main road to go out to the south, and you're kind of trapped there. Once those fires got going, the people really had nowhere to go. That's why you saw so many people in the ocean as well. Yeah, it'd be nice if we could get something like Starlink and just like have somebody in Hawaii that you just talk to, and they're linked with meteorologists around the world, and like, hey, you want to check the situation out. Looks like you're going to have a downsloping wind event, and things are going to be very dry, and the pressure gradient is going to be strong. You're going to get huge winds, and you've got drought conditions, or your grasses are abnormally dry. You need to check your power poles. You need to make sure everything is secure, you know, stuff like that. And we just really don't have that in place. And a lot of times, sadly, in things like aviation and weather, things don't get changed until you have deaths a lot of time. Like aviation, for example, is written in blood. It's extremely safe now, but a lot of the rules happen because of trial and error and people flying planes, and you crash and then you're like, okay, we know not to do that now. And so, but it doesn't help that pilot. It's just like, uh-oh, did I just lose you guys? Reconnecting. I think you're still here, but I got on a rant there anyway. But anyway, let's take a look here again. The sun is going to be going down here in a while in Western Washington. You can see it creeping off from the east. The fires are going out there. If you're across central Washington, like Lake Chelan here, Wenatchee, you probably see that smoke plume out there as well. Yeah, no fun. I do not like being underneath these smoke plumes as well. Lost me for a second. Okay, we're back. Good. I got about 10 more minutes here, then I got to get back and take care of stuff. I'll go back to work tomorrow for a little bit, but I'll have my briefings as normal tomorrow. Yeah, I'm glad a lot of people came on here today. Looks like we had like 500 people at one time in the chat here. Very nice. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. So you can see here, check this out. In the next 7 days, you may even get another tropical disturbance to form down here. Only 20% chance right now. This is what would be Hurricane Hillary there in the red, and this would be the one off into the future. There's Fernanda out there. What is Fernanda right now? She is a hurricane. It's supposed to be downgraded to a tropical storm by tomorrow. And you can see a depression approaching the Hawaiian Islands. Could bring some additional precip there. Maybe it'll help bring some measurable precip there to Maui too. Who knows? Onshore flow is going to kick in here in Western Washington, but that's kind of the danger of what's going on here as well. Let me bring that up. I'll bring up this one. We'll take a look at that really quick here. We'll go to actually, we'll go to the European deterministic here. We'll go to 100-meter wind speeds. But actually, right now, we've got a little bit of onshore flow going on. You can see a little bit of it coming down tonight through the Strait of Juan de Fuca, Strait of Georgia here. But watch as we go into tomorrow. We get a little bit more. We got a little bit of onshore flow still going. But I think by Thursday, check it out. It really starts to crank up there Thursday night, especially Eastern Washington. And there's not going to be much precip associated with this. This is kind of a nasty situation here too. Any kind of fire that goes off across Washington, Oregon has that potential for rapid growth. Friday afternoon, I mean, you can see the strong onshore flow going on here. We're probably going to start cooling down here pretty good by Friday, at least west of the mountains as well. So that'll be good. We'll be bringing a trough through here. Just not a lot of precipitation for a lot of areas that need it, though. Could be the last heat wave. You never know, but sometimes we can get 90-degree days all the way into September as well. We have the potential for atmospheric rivers with an El Nino. Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. It's happened before, and you know, it's especially with big El Ninos, you tend to be a bit more wet for California. You know, I should probably post my storm chasing stuff on something like Flickr as well. I did at one point, but then I haven't done it in like at least 4 or 5 years now. I've got a lot of good images like for my storm chasing and stuff. Maybe I'll do that at some point. Okay, yeah, I'll do a little recap for anybody still with us here. Looks like we still have a few hundred people in here right now. Let's go ahead and go to... So this was the 18Z GFS, the GFS ensemble. There's 30 ensemble members there. The black is the ensemble mean. The blue is the control run. You can clearly see the GFS thinks that the tropical system is coming and it's going to impact the Southwest USA. Also the European, this is the 12Z run here. And again, good agreement here on this system moving up the coastline. And so high impacts possible at this situation. Definitely check in tomorrow. I'll be doing the full briefing tomorrow. I'll have 2 more European model runs to look at, and we will go over that information. Oh, let me also show you this one here too. Let's go to winds. And I think the GFS might even have a better handle on this. If we look at Invest 90 Echo here, check out Category 1 is the green line here. Most of the ensembles and the control and the European... the ensemble mean of the GFS, not the European, shows this becoming a Category 1 hurricane and potentially a Category 2. The control run shows it being a Category 2 hurricane. And I have a hunch it could even get a little bit stronger than that as it's moving towards Baja there, across the really warm water. If you look at the European, though, it only has a few ensembles showing a Category 1, but I think it might be underdoing that somewhat. The Canadian calling for, the deterministic says it will be a hurricane as well. And the ATCF, look at this. Some of these models have this being quite a strong storm here. I don't think this is going to be a Category 5 hurricane or anything, or even Category 4, but you can see the potential for Category 2 or 3 is there in some of these model runs coming up. And we'll go over the precipitation one more time here as well. Let me scroll through here. This is the 12Z run, which we did not talk about this morning, but just going to watch this. So as we go through, this is Friday, Saturday, and you can clearly see the moisture start to move up. And look at some of these values across Southern California. This is no joke. These are kind of widespread precipitation amounts. This would be a serious situation here across some of the area. And you can see this move up across some of the valley, even up into Northern California. So this is one of the possibilities here as we go on in towards next week. This should be starting this weekend coming up. And actually, let's go ahead and do this. Let's look at the GFS too as well. This is the 18Z GFS. Thunderstorm activity for the next couple of days. And we start to roll into Friday here. Now we're into Saturday. And Saturday night, you see that moisture start moving up over some of the desert areas. And just look at this surge with the system as you go through Monday. I mean, look at that just huge amounts of precip here for some of these areas. The Sierra Nevada included in here as well. Some of the Valley, even maybe even the Bay Area will get in on this, as well as Northern California. And this surges all the way up into Oregon here as well. So this is definitely worth watching. And this could easily track a little bit further east and really include Arizona or maybe even Nevada here as well. As you can see the big surge and the kind of remnants of the tropical system as they move across California here. So yeah, interesting stuff come up here over the next couple of days. I mean, the hype machine is really going to get going here in the media. And if you guys have been watching for the last few days, you know, and I've been talking about this for a little bit here. So the media is really going to latch on to this here, especially if you're across areas of Southern California here. So, you know, stay tuned to the channel here to get the best updates. And I'll do my briefing tomorrow morning. No bad hurricanes on the East Coast right now. Yeah, you could get some really good wave activity across Southern California. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do this here really quick because there's a guy that's pretty good to follow here as well. Storm Surf. You guys have not heard about him. Check him out. If you're a surfer, check him out because he talks about surfing videos all the time. Storm Surf 001. Hopefully he gets a few more subscribers because of this. He does one briefing a week, and you can see he's getting like, 2, 3, 5,000 views on that one, 5,000. So he's up trending his views a little bit here. Hopefully this gets him some information. Maybe we can even, so you guys send him some comments or send him an email and tell him to put out a surf forecast here on Friday or Saturday for the storm coming in here. So anyway, check him out there. Storm Surf is good for surf forecasts. He really goes into the detail on it there. But yeah, big stuff coming in here. What else? Andrew Love says he's great. Palm Springs. Yeah, I mean, some of these here, let's zoom in a little bit more here because that's kind of wild to look at. We'll go to states. We'll go to California South. Yeah, you're talking, I mean, if you get 8 inches across some of the mountains or the desert areas, that's like going to be extreme flooding out there. So hopefully the GFS is not correct because that's going to be a loss of life out there across some of the communities. But I mean, even Santa Barbara, Los Angeles Metro, I mean, you're talking 2+ inches here. This is kind of wild. Let's look at the European here as well. So this will be the 12Z. Let's back up. Yeah, I mean, the European seeing huge amounts across some of the mountainous areas as well. Look at this. I mean, that would be some serious flooding there, Ventura County. Let's scroll through the 24-hour totals because it's going to matter how quick and furiously this precipitation comes too. I don't want to be too much of a hype machine here. But these are 24-hour totals, and that is not good because there's some huge totals in there. I mean, my goodness. 5 inches in 24 hours, that would be no joke. I mean, those dry streams coming off the mountains would become raging torrents, bringing down big boulders, and you guys know the drill there across California. Let's look at the whole state here. I mean, look at this surge of moisture. This is 24-hour running total here. Look at that thing surge up across California into Oregon. Just impressive. And right now, this kind of sparing Arizona and some of Nevada from the worst of this. And you really need to be on guard here because this could easily shift east a little bit here over the next day or two. Easily. I mean, depending on how that ridge sets up over the center portion of the USA is really going to help steer the system. But right now, it looks like mainly a California threat. But this could easily impact Arizona and Nevada also. And it doesn't take much. Okay, it's 8:03, so I got to get off the computer here. But so anyway, I'll do my briefings tomorrow. So you guys stop by and check it out. We'll talk about everything again. I'll round everything up for everybody here, and we will go into some details tomorrow. We'll have 2 brand new model runs to look at. Hope you guys are going to have a good night out there. Hopefully you're not underneath one of those smoke plumes. I feel bad for you if you do, but, hopefully that is short-lived. And hopefully we're not doing any new fire starts. If you guys missed that, we were kicking off some pretty good amount of lightning strikes here. They're now coming to a wane as the sun starts to drop below the horizon there. But you can see we had pretty good thunderstorm activity across Northern California, all the way down through Southern California, Arizona, some of Nevada, Utah, and even up across Oregon today. And they're still ongoing across some of the east slopes of the Cascades there as well. So yeah, be careful. Don't be one of the guys out there that sets fire to an entire mountain range. You guys know how it goes. I kid, but yeah, for real, just going to be careful there with the fire danger. But anyway, yeah, I'll do my briefing tomorrow for both California and Pacific Northwest. Hope you guys are having a good night, and I'll talk to you guys